Okay, we're going to get started. It's just after 6 o'clock, and I'd like to try to get you out of here by 7:30. The reason I say that is twofold. One, after about an hour and a half, if you haven't gotten enough information, it's really easy to schedule a time to sit down with me. And we'll go into a lot greater detail one-on-one. Second, after about an hour and a half, and at 7:30 at night, my stomach's going to start growling. If I don't feed it, I won't be a very happy person. So with that, we'll get moving forward. I'm Jared Burke, Dr. Jared Burke. I'm the Superintendent of Schools here in Watertown, Wisconsin. And I am not committed to the name Burke Briefings, but I know that's what they're billed as. I just have a name that is something that really goes into briefings well. And so with that, I got a bunch of information to share with you about our school district. You have what I would call one-pagers. So each topic, I have a couple of slides that are around one page, but this one-page information is basically for you to look at. I start out each of my briefings with an update on our strategic plan. We've been working for almost a year now. We started last April on a very new strategic plan for our district, one that works for our district, one that aims us and moves us forward together as a community. The reason I say that is we've had over 150 people from our community chime in on this plan. And then this plan went through our board level and board approval, and this isn't all of it, okay? What you're seeing here is that we have three main pillars that we built it off of. We built it off of tradition. We know that this school district has a long historic tradition of really being a spectacular school district and really serving its people and working with this community. We build it off of innovation because we know that as a school district and as a nation, right, we want to keep moving forward with innovation, and we want to keep challenging ourselves and our students to keep going further into the future with whatever technology and other skills that brings. And we also want to talk about transformation, and that word to us means continuous improvement. How do we continue to transform our school district in a positive momentum of change so that we can keep getting better? Along with that, you can see up there our mission and vision statement. I won't read those to you. But I do want you to know that we decided to, as a group, as a community, talk about what are our priority areas. If we're going to have to invest money, time, and infrastructure into things, what do we care about? And we said we care about these areas, which is inspire academic excellence and student growth. All in team. All in team to us means that we are going to work together as a group. Even if it's a hard thing, we're going to try to compromise and come to a solution that fits our community, fits our students. And as a team, whether I'm the superintendent or a teacher or a cleaner on a third shift cleaning crew, we know that we're in this for those we serve, which are our students and their families. Connecting as a community is big to us. We'll talk more about how we connect to the community and the things that we think about and that we do when we're connecting with the community more later. But I will give you one example in connecting as a community. We have over 100 students who are in apprenticeship programs. In an apprenticeship program, we have a local employer who employs a student, helps train them, so they get job training on the job, they get mentoring, and they get an educational credit because we're partnering with them on all those skills developments, right? And so that's an important thing for us as we do that. And so just having the number of businesses it takes to do 100 apprenticeships and having that connection with those businesses is a strong asset for our community. Also, intentional resource allocation. We want to make sure that if we're buying something or using something or outfitting a facility, that we're doing that with good intentions and to look at what it means for us in the future and how we can utilize those resources, whether it's money or assets or personnel, making sure that when we utilize them, that we're very intentional with it. That also helps us cut down on waste. I know that a lot of schools sometimes get this idea that they're just wasteful and that we're overpaying people and everything else. Well, I will tell you that here in Watertown, we work really, really hard to make sure that we're towing the line to a budget that's affordable, and that we're only using what we need to make sure that we're successful for students. And then innovative facilities. Again, we want to make sure that the facilities match our educational programming and that we're doing things to move students forward. And as our programming changes into the future, we want to maintain that flexibility so that we can make sure our facilities help in that change. One of the innovative facilities changes that we were doing this last year out at LEAP was putting together a real big chicken run and a larger hen house for all of our hens out there, and that's a big part of our agricultural science program that happens out there. And so just looking at that, I will tell you that all of that was donated by people in our community. That's another way I can talk about connecting with the community. But making sure that we do that for our programming purposes. All those priority areas wouldn't be anything without our core values. Those are out there in the upper left. We are starting to roll those core values out to not just the school, but to our families, and to our businesses, and our community, because we want people to understand what it means to be a Gosling, what it means to be a member of our unified school district. And we're focusing hard on what empathy, honesty, integrity, perseverance, and respect means. All of those are listed in our strategic plan, and you will have information on how to connect to our strategic plan down in the lower left there. It will drive you to a website that talks about those and defines those in greater detail. Any questions that you have about our strategic plan before I move on to the next topic? Okay, what I'd like to do, since this is such a small group, and thank you for coming out in a very cold time, is I'd love to go around the room and hear more about who you are. So if you could tell me your name and what brought you out here tonight, I'd like to hear that. Put everybody on the spot. It's good.
Well,
I gotta be up here.
hi, Jared. I'm Tyler. I also am an IT at the school, but I'm just kind of curious on community input and stuff.
My name is Tiffany. I also work for the school district at an elementary school, and I have 4 kids in the district. And I just like to know what the future looks like for my kids and for working here as well.
My name is Kurt Schneider. I am a retired German teacher from the enemy, Common War. And I am currently teaching part-time at Milwaukee School, the German Immersion School. So I make a long commute in there, and it's a lot of fun. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. My wife is a teacher at the high school, and I have my kid in the district.
My name is Tammy Fournier. I have 2 children in the district, and I've just been trying to get actively involved since about April or May to stay abreast of what's going on in the education system in our community.
Charity Chandler. I was born and raised in Watertown, moved away for 20 years, and came back about 5 years ago, and education is something that's meant something to me for a very long time. I made my advanced degree in this area because I've been so passionate about it. And so I've heard things, read things, but it's always different when you hear it directly from someone who's passionate about it. And so I came for your review on that.
Oh, hey, all right.
I'm Kathy Wagner. I'm a long-standing member of the community. I was educated here, I taught here, I was a guidance counselor here, I was a principal here, I retired here, and now I'm the president of the Educational Foundation, who gives last year $50,000 to the students of public and private schools in Watertown. Very invested in education.
Hi, this is Stephen Good. I have been married to an educator for the last 20 plus years. I have raised 3 of our children through the Watertown system. Now 4th is in the system currently.
I'm Colleen Good. I'm an employee of the district, and I am just here to hear community inputs and just to get more of what Jared is talking about. I've sat through a couple of your presentations, but it's always good to get more information.
I'm Misty Kukan. I'm a transplant of 5 years, but my husband, his 2 oldest and my youngest are graduates of Watertown. I am a veteran teacher, 30-year high school teacher, and I'm passionate about how education works, and having gone through several referendums in my previous schools, knowing the importance of getting that information out, since Act 10 destroyed what we get from the state, we need to find a way to make sure we get it.
Hi, I'm Dave Morstead. Lived in Watertown since the late 70s. Raised 3 kids through the Watertown school system, 2 of whom became teachers themselves. One of those returned to Watertown to do so at a school about 3 blocks that away. I also have 2 grandkids who attend Lincoln STEM. And I'm here because I just have a passion for public education, particularly for Watertown, and really feel that we are at a critical juncture here, and just trying to get a little smarter and do what I can.
Christopher, I moved here probably 3-4 years ago from Germantown, more in the country, more towards Lebanon, Sugar Island area. Manage a team of information security engineers, and got a daughter who's in LEAP right now, and a son Leo who I'd like to go to LEAP as well. So I want to hear more about what we're spending, where the money's going, what are the plans, all of the things. So I want to make sure that kids got a good future and really enjoy LEAP. So it's interesting to do one. Sure.
Knows me. I'm Melissa Lampy. I'm the communications specialist for the school district. I'm also a longtime parent in the district. I have 2 sons who have graduated, and my daughter is a sophomore at the high school.
Hi, I'm Steve Ford. I'm actually a university professor down the street, an alderman for District 3 and candidate for mayor. The connectivity between the city and the school district is actually what I'm really interested in. I participated all summer in the strategy sessions, which was quite interesting, obviously.
Thank you all. And again, when I say that we have a priority area of connecting as a community, part of these briefings, part of our communication strategies, we found out about a year and a half ago, in my first year here, we did an audit about communication. One of the things I heard as a new superintendent coming to this district, from a former superintendent role, one of the things I heard in the first few weeks is just how horrible we are at communicating. We did an audit actually to find that out, and just to see, what it is that people were complaining about. One of the things that people were telling us is they had to manage 14 tools or so between all of their kids just to get the information that they need. We're trying to be better at that. Part of that is doing these kind of briefings, but bringing on a tool that can replace 5 or 7 tools with rooms that's coming out, and some other things that we're doing. And so we are trying to get better at communicating and connecting with the community through that communications audit. Another thing that we're looking at is a long-range facilities plan process. I want you to know that this facilities process does not connect in any way to the referendum that we're asking for in April. This is actually a process that we're starting now that will end well past our April referendum ballot and go into the next 5 to 30 years. And that's why we are gathering data. For those of you who know me over the last, or gotten to know me over the last 2.5 years, I am the kind of person who I gather data, formulate a plan, and work the plan. And I do that by involving as many people who are willing to share their thoughts and their ideas of what we're doing, much like the strategic plan and the communication audit. We got some information from people so far around facilities planning. We hired an agency, architectural firm called PRA, and they are helping us with this. We started with a facilities condition assessment. And what we found out from that facilities condition assessment is that we are going to need approximately $1 $1.6 million in total, just to get our buildings up to snuff. And you can see that at the elementary level, that would be $34 million for all 5 of those buildings. The ESC itself is $4.2 million, $22.8 million for the middle school, and $45 million for the high school. And so we're talking a lot about that. And when we look at schools up there, you can see that the elementary schools, we have Douglas that looks like it needs about $7.7 million, Lee 2.9 million, Lincoln 5.5 million, Sure 7.8 of that 34, and Webster about 10. We use this information to talk about how are we going to be planning for our facilities into the future. We also, through this plan, did a study to look at the educational adequacy of the space. Remember I talked about having innovative spaces to learn, right? I'm not talking innovative in the way people might say, oh, you're just looking for a top shelf, top of the line classroom. No, I'm looking at spaces that function well for the education that we're giving students, right? We are trying to make sure that we match the income level and the ability for people to help support us. So we're not looking to, do the Cadillac model. We are making sure that we have a functional model though, for what we need. And then we are in the first process of doing a shape, which is to look at ideas. And so in August, PRA gave us all of these options, A through G, and said, hey, we can talk about looking at just doing maintenance only, that's at $106 million. We can take that $106 million, and instead of modernizing just the schools and keeping the configuration, which is B, we could do stuff like thinking about neighborhood elementary schools with different attendance boundaries instead of programmatic attendance like we're doing right now. If you know how we're structured as the elementary, we have elementaries that have different kinds of programming. Webster is your traditional kind of program. At Schurz, we have a bilingual kind of programming, STEM programming that's over at Lincoln, educational environmental ag program out at Lee, and then over here at Douglas, they work more on community building type program and how they work through that. So we've got a lot of different things that we do. But they suggested looking at consolidating elementaries and what the footprint looks like. They suggested middle school at the high school model, whether that's to take the existing building right now and see how we can fit middle school into it, or is it an addition and what that looks like. Would we have 2 schools under one roof, so to speak? But we're in the midst of just talking about that right now. I will tell you that our school board has focused mainly in this area of E, F, and G. They don't think it makes sense to do maintenance only, which is smaller than the 1.6 million, or just modernizing the schools that we have. And the reason they're not thinking about this so much is because when we did a population study with MD Roffers, we found out that we are in a declining enrollment situation, that we've been in a declining enrollment situation for about 7 years. It's been magnified in the last 5 years, and it will continue for another 10 years. That, the reason that we're in a decline is mainly to do with birth rate. First of all, our average population is getting above 60 in our area. And when you're that age, you're not of childbearing years anymore, usually. And so trying to fill schools with students gets to be a little bit more difficult. And unless we have a way to dramatically increase housing quickly, which takes time, even if we started today and we had 200 more units over here, we get about less than one child per unit, actually. And if we did even get one child per unit, it would take us 10 years to build those 200 homes and then have the population of students that move in and do that. So those are just data points, again, that MD offers put together for us. But we know that over the next 10 years we're going to decline. And if we are, there's not a reason for us to have as many buildings as we have. We already have classrooms that are open in a number of our buildings. Or what we've done is we've redesigned a classroom to become a book room or a computer lab. Spaces you don't absolutely need, but they're available to us, so we can use them in the data. Any questions about this or where we're going? That section there is for more information on that. You can go see our studies. We have a 408-page volume of the study that you can look at. We've got some dates coming up in April. Yeah.
Just the slide with the graph.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Just the key at the bottom.
The key at the bottom. Yep.
Is that reference to the information on top, or is it reference to more information that's made on?
Yeah. So this here, the bar, this is here only so that you can see existing and maintenance. This one really does the maintenance only portion of that. There would be, if you go to this link, there will be other schematics like that talk about like options A through I think D or E that the board asked PRA to put together as conversation starters. We rolled those out about a month ago to the community, those who showed up. And we will refine those based on the feedback that we got. Some of them have like a one campus idea, which would be like locating everything up towards where the high school is now and then large campus. What? Yep. But it sounds like the community that was present so far favors a two campus model. And then we have to decide, is that going to be keeping our middle school campus and putting two elementaries there, say, two large elementaries and then a middle and high school, or what does that look like? So we're not committed to anything right now. That's what people need to know and hear. What they do need to know is that we're in a process and we'd love to have your input. Okay, and to get caught up on that, again, you can find the information here in the QR code. Or you can come to one of these next meetings. We do think that these may change, especially because we know that this state, right, there's something major happening in our state. It's called the NFL draft. And so, like, you're right. You're like, what? Who cares, right? Well, some people care. But so we're looking at those dates anyway to see if we can move maybe into May. Yeah.
And maybe you don't know the answer. The monies that they have projected, is that based on today's costs, or do they?
Yes.
As projected. Not based on any.
It's not future costs. Okay. Those are today's dollars. Okay. Yep. So that's going to go up. Yeah. And already has. Yeah. From the time that they put that together, which was months ago. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts? Yeah.
With the numbers that are stated. Yeah. What is the likelihood of so it's not connected to our planning, but when would decisions be made and plans start being made?
So we hope to have a plan as to where we're going over the next 30 years, right? With phased options available for the public around August. Then, depending on what happens with the operating referendum, if the operating referendum doesn't pass in April, we need to make sure that we continue to push the message of needing an operational referendum, talking to and communicating with the community as to what, if that didn't pass, then what would pass, and then redoing that in April again. Once that's done and we know where our future is, if we have more operating dollars or not, that will inform the second phase, which is to talk about facilities and whether or not we need a referendum to do whatever the first couple options are on that, when those are going to be laid out and when we're going to end up. But it could be 5 to 8 years before we even get that first operational, maintenance referendum to do some of this work. Again, this is a long-range plan that we're looking at. We may have to do some consolidating and some shuffling prior to that, and I can talk about that a little bit more as we move forward. Any other questions? Okay. I want to talk a little bit about referendum, and I may switch into some other slides, but I want to go over some of this information for you real quickly. This is a did you know, and I'm going to have a couple of did you knows along the way. Did you know that over the last 10 years, the school district operational revenue only increased by 5%? 10 years. Our operational revenue only increased 5%. You can see our total operational budgets over the years, last 10 years. The reason these are larger is because that was part of the money that we gathered through the last referendum. That was a 5-year referendum that was put together. This is this year. We stretched the 5-year referendum into 7. We will actually stretch it into 8. Hopefully, our referendum does pass, because if it stretches into 8, we are going to run out of operational money by the end of the year. We will have to do some short-term borrowing just to meet payrolls. This is this year's operating, 24-25 school year. Yep.
We did a pretty big reassessment.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So the question is, we did a reassessment, right? Not we. All the municipalities, the cities, the townships, right? Many of them in the last 2 years did a reassessment. And they want to know, the gentleman wants to know, how does that factor into the schools? Okay? When you get reassessed, right, for most municipalities, that means more tax revenue that comes in. For school districts, it does not. Back in the 90s, they put a revenue limit formula in that capped the revenue at what your spending district was. If you were a high spending district in the 90s, you were capped at a little bit higher rate. If you were a low spending district and you were the lowest, one of the lowest, we're in the category of you're the lowest tier, we were capped at the lowest. And so even though the assessed value rises, our revenue does not go up correspondingly. What happens is the mill rate drops down. And you'll see what that looks like. And the mill rate is what we charge you for your portion of the school tax, right? And so we didn't get any more revenue during the assessment. What it did is it dropped how much we would charge you. We got the same amount of revenue, right? So we didn't charge you any more. We didn't make more money than that. Some of the municipalities did, the city, the townships, they generate more revenue then because the property values go up. But because they changed the formula for schools in the 90s, that fixed the amount that schools could get. That makes sense for you all? Anybody have a question for that? Yeah, that's a big misnomer. Some people think that if taxes go up, right, then the school gets more money. No, not the school. Other places might, not the school. Yes.
So I do have a question. In regards to not going below the base question, with the new administration that's coming in and push changes to education, how does that affect the bottom line?
Are you talking about the new federal administration that comes?
Yes.
I don't know how that's going to affect us yet because they're literally hours into their administration, right? I do know that they are proposing some cuts to like unfund or even close the Department of Education. But there are Department of Education functions, right, that still need to happen because of the law, right? We still have special education, for instance, right? And special education funding, at least for now, is still going to continue under that administration. It's just going to get transitioned into the schools through something other than the Department of Education. Okay, so we also don't know where is that going into the future, right? Is the funding for schools going to go down or not? We don't know.
Is that something that you have planned for, though, right? You're going into this?
Yeah, and we do know that regardless of administration, our title funding for title reading programs and so on. We have Title I funding that we use quite heavily, Title IV funding for professional development. Title IV and Title II funds are going to be gone. Those are generally continuing education and or innovation dollars. Those are going to be gone, and we're going to have probably about a 25% decrease in funding for title dollars, which means our intervention reading programs. We'll have to figure out how we're going to do this. We've been told to foreshadow that. No decisions have been made, but that's what they're saying. So, here's another did you know. Did you know that if our state stayed indexed to the CPI like it used to be tied to the CPI, our funding rate. If our per pupil funding rate stayed tied, we would actually have $3,235 per pupil more to use as revenue than we currently do today. If I had that amount per pupil, I wouldn't be asking for a referendum. Would not need to. There's an also, did you know, but it's not part of the slideshow. Did you know that the state government used to fund public education, special education in the public education by 66%, and currently now we're around 33-ish%. If I had that other 30%, I wouldn't be asking for a referendum. But the law says that if the state doesn't cover it, the local has to, and we have to do what's called a Fund 10 to Fund 27 transfer. For me, that means my general operating budget goes to my special education operating budget to cover the shortfalls that are covered by the state. And that's over $6 million right now. I could also put a did you know up here that gets a little bit into a topic that might seem political for some. So I need to talk to you a little bit about my beliefs personally so that you don't think I'm attacking anyone or anything. Did you know that our state is now funding private education through our tax dollars? I say that with a firm belief in choice schools. I'm a choice school advocate. I believe that in our democracy, it's great to have educated people, and education can happen at your home, or in a school, or at a public school or a private school, and I believe that we should fund that. But what I don't like is that they put a bunch of students on the rolls, and they didn't fund it. They just said, we're going to take the same pot that used to go to public schools, and we're going to now divide some of that pot up to the private schools. And they've even gone as far as saying we're going to fund stuff at the private schools at a higher rate than we do at the public schools. For instance, the reimbursement rate that we have to give a private school for special education is a lot higher, almost 100%, and we're only getting 33-ish%. That sets up some really weird politics when I have to work with our partners in private education, and I truly believe they're our partners, and I love what they do for their students as well. But it sets up a formula that really pits communities against one another. The more that we voucher students, and I believe they should be able to be vouchered, right? The less it's going to take away from the public school, and the more we're going to have to ask our community to support schools. And that's a sad thing for just education in general. It's more of a defunding of the schools than helping anyone or anything else. Also, here's a did you know? Did you know this is our mill rate history? We can talk about assessment values that went up, but what that's done with our mill rate is it's dropped it to $5.99. Okay? We have been operating up here. As a matter of fact, $8.98 was the mill rate we were paying during our last referendum. Remember, I told you that was a 5-year referendum. Oh, what happened here? It was a 5-year referendum for $8.98. We, as a school district, went to $8.90 in the last year of that referendum. I have to tell you that when we go out to referendum and we ask for you to extend authority to us, I always say that if we don't need the full authority, we can under-levy. That's what happened here. But when you under-levy, you're stuck at that rate or lower until and if you ask for more authority through another referendum. We knew that that was the last year of 5. We knew that the city, this is the city's assessed value, was going to reassess, and they needed the full authority of the tax. We under-levied, yes, by only 8 cents, but 8 cents is all we could afford, but we under-levied because we knew that taxes were going to go up for everybody, and we tried to do our job as a school district to help smooth that out for you a little bit. So not only did the people in the city get that, but also that helped out people in the townships that didn't reassess yet. Well, guess what? Most of those did reassess now, and that's dropped the mill rate. Average mill rates, if I had everybody's mill rate up here, and I don't have a slide in this one. I would have to bring up the other presentation, but I think I can go without it. Average mill rate for surrounding school districts, by the way, is $7.20 for the average mill rate in the area. And so if I went up $1.21, I would be at the average. We're only asking for 70 cents on the mill rate in the next referendum. Okay? And that 70 cents, really equates to about 48 cents a day, less than streaming service, less than 15 bucks a month. And I know this, and I'm not saying this is tongue in cheek. There are people in our community who are saying, I would love to have another streaming service. They're not saying that because, I'm not saying that because I'm being cheeky. I'm saying, like, we know that that's a lot of money to ask for somebody in our community. So just know that we know that we're pushing the boundaries, even asking only for 70 cents. And then we are going to be eternally grateful if it passes. I can go a little bit more into this. Be mindful of the time. We're on time. 6:37. Good. I can go a little bit more into the referendum in detail. Some people ask me questions like, well, what happens if it doesn't pass? Okay? I will answer it this way because I don't have all the details. I will tell you that we are like the second largest employer in our boundaries. Our school district boundaries. I fight against the hospital and always because we technically have more employees, just we have more itinerant, like substitute employees, right? But they have more employees, full-time and part-time than we do. If we don't pass a referendum, we're going to have to cut approximately that $7 million out of our budget. That's going to be 60 to 80 staff members across the spectrum. Anywhere from a cleaner all the way through administration. That's going to drastically change programming for our staff and our students. How do we get there? We get there by consolidating classrooms, having class sizes go from 16 to 18 to about 28 to 30. We will reduce our graduation requirement down to the state minimum. It's approximately a credit and a half per student for every student in high school. That means fewer electives and fewer AP programming. That's where we'll have the consolidating at the high school that happens. And other big changes to our program. I need to share with you that when one of the largest employers in an area loses that many number of jobs, it has a very huge economic impact. One that we can go into deeper and calculate for you if you want to sit down with us on a personal basis and say, well, what does that look like? But I can tell you that when most of our operations go to salary and people, because we're a service industry, we serve students and families in education, much like the hospital does in healthcare. Most of it's not about things, right? It's about the people we hire. And when we lose people, most of that money that goes to salary and benefits, a large portion of that stays in our community. They go down and they buy some gas, or they buy groceries and everything else. And we have to lose that many jobs. That's going to be an economic impact. If you want to know more about that, you can also call people off in the Ford School District. They've gone through that recently, Fort Atkinson. I will tell you that we will dramatically change how we program for students. I have other details that I can go into. What questions do you have about the report? I think the takeaways that I want you to take away are, one, this is a state funding issue. It isn't a local issue and us going past our means or anything. You guys saw that. Not only are we not going past our means, but we've done everything we can to take this off the shelf as long as we could. And we were hoping for some resolution from the state. This isn't something that also just impacts schools. They're underfunding cities and municipalities, they're underfunding counties, and the state is sitting on a huge resource that they've been taxing you for, and they haven't been utilizing. And I tell that to the people that I see who represent us all the time. If I could have just a portion of that for the schools, we would be okay. So that's one takeaway you need to know. The other takeaway is that if it doesn't pass, it will take us some time and a lot of heartache to get to programming that matches what the community is willing to put in their schools. It will devalue the education that we're about to give to them, and devalued education ends up in lower home values for sure, because people will want to have their children go to a school district that they feel is meeting the needs of their kids. I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah.
Well, I've done three things that we do for you as a district to help with this whole thing.
One, take in the information that I'm giving, right? Because all I can do is give information. Two, take it seriously the first time. What we're finding is that some communities continue to think that something else is going to happen, and it doesn't. And the ask keeps getting larger and larger, and then it gets to be really impossible. Right now it's possible. We've done everything we can to lower it. One of the things that I didn't share that we're doing is we've committed as an administrative team over the next 3 years to cut $1.5 million out of our budget. 3 years. Okay? For us, and if I'm only using one metric, right? And don't take this metric to mean I'm only cutting teachers, because I'm not saying it. About 4.5 teachers equals that $500,000 if they're at the top end of our pay scale. Right? I will tell you, to try to find that year over year, I can't come up with 15 to 20 positions to get to that 1.5 million. Right? When I said that we were going to cut 60 to 80 positions to try to get towards the 7 million, that's only part of the deal. We will have to close buildings. We're going to close buildings anyway because we are shrinking in size. We don't physically need the space that we have available to us. So we are going to have to close buildings. It doesn't make sense to keep them open. How we're doing that is we're going back to this study, and we're looking at these kind of numbers, right, to say how much is it going to cost to get that building up to snuff. We're looking at other data, like how much have we put into each one of these in the past, say 5 to 10 years, and those that we haven't invested in are going to need more, and those we have invested in may need less, but we're also doing it not on a dollar by dollar basis, we're doing it on a dollar per student we serve in that facility basis, right? Because that is really, we have to talk about how we serve people, and of that, LEAP is the largest. It has the worst return on investment to us because it takes the most to have it run for the number of kids we serve. It has gotten better over the last couple of years because now we're almost at max capacity at LEAP. That's how good the program is. We've got a lot of people who like that. But it is hard to have that small building out in the country. We transport about half of the students from in town or away from, that live away from me, as we would having to transfer the people who are by me into town.
Okay, I'm good. Okay, so I got this slide here.
Yep.
I'm looking at the mill rate system. You talked about the mill rate, when we went down to 8.9, you know.
Yep. We could have gone to 8.98.
Right. Yep. But that was the referendum. Now, taking that, you know, that this referendum, the hearing operation referendum, 7 million a year, how many years is it?
It's recurring, which means it goes on to the tax rolls forever. Yeah. So you're going to ask, like, okay, why is that then? If we did a sunset one, right? Why are we doing one that's going to be on forever? But the reason is because when we did this one, right, this was about $5.5 million per year. Now we're asking for 7. If we do one for 5 years, I'll be back in 5 to 8 years asking for 11 or 14. We'll get ourselves into a place where people can't even afford the gas. We need to build it and have people understand this is just the cost of doing business. But we can't keep living on a coupon and passing the coupon down the road. Okay? We have to act. Yeah, interestingly enough, did you know that we only budget about $450,000 a year for all 7 of our buildings, 8 of our buildings to maintain them? 7. That's not even enough to do the daily maintenance of our high school. Okay, so when you think about that number, it sounds like a big number, but I'm talking daily maintenance. Pencil sharpener breaks, if the handle comes off, stall in the bathroom comes off the hinge, whatever. Things happen, right? We need to fix them. And that doesn't count the large fixes that are coming. That building is 30 plus years old now. It's going to need new roofing soon, and a new heating plant soon, and other things, right? And that's what that facilities plan is talking about in the future. But again, those aren't part of this referendum. This referendum is to really talk about just funding what we need to fund right now. Salaries, getting ahead a little bit more on our maintenance. Some of the increased security that we've been working on, making sure we're maintaining that. Mr. Board back there talked a little bit about how we're working with the city, trying to have a good relationship. Well, one of the things that we know is that we're having more and more calls to the police department to help with our elementary students, which also takes our SRO from our high school and our middle school to react to an elementary situation. So we've come up with, from the school board standpoint, some monies over the next couple of years to help fund that position. And the city has committed to that position, and pretty soon we'll be hiring them. I can't commit to that position on the long term if we don't have funding. Right? I've committed to what I know for the next year or two, but I can't commit to that full time. And we're trying to maintain that level of security. The response rate, should something happen, to have 1, if not 3 SROs right in town on shift at our buildings to help in that emergency situation. That stuff, I don't want to live without. And I definitely will need to continue to increase safety for students first.
As superintendent, you have a
No question is silly. Ask anybody here who knows me.
Rough idea as administrator and obviously trying to do it.
Yeah.
The pulse, the heartbeat of the community is that it supports the schools. We mentioned referendum like answer. You don't know that.
I don't know. I'm new enough to the community that I don't have that heartbeat. So I again, this is year 3 for me. I'm halfway through that, right? I do know this. I know the makeup of the community. I know that it's very heavily blue collar, right? And that it's really hard to sometimes make ends meet, right? And that. But I do think we have a lot of people who have a lot of pride in their schools. And I know that there's a lot of people who are starting to revitalize their pride in their schools because they see that we're moving in a positive direction, right? And I also know that there are a lot of people in town who support private schools. I'm hoping that we can convince them to support all schools. The reason I say that is because I know what it was like. I grew up, I was the first child in my family to go to a public school because I wanted to go with my neighborhood friends, right? And my dad and his whole family had a long history of Catholics, right? You're going to go to Aquinas High School, no doubt about it. You're going to cross Aquinas High School. And I was like, no, I just want to be with my friends in the community. I didn't have a lot of the church community in my neighborhood, right? But I will tell you that in this town, right, our public school students are friends, neighborhood friends with our private school students. And they want to make sure that we have good education.
How do you really want to come for a year to teach? He was relatively at white my experience there is that everything comes up and those who have keep it going.
Okay.
That's
okay.
There's other comments.
Nothing's inappropriate here. Oh. Any other questions you guys have on the referendum?
Yeah, I don't know if it's directly the referendum, but the writing seems on the wall, right? And looking at all the options, B, C, D, and F, I look at the whole presentation, it's not right. Lincoln, Lee, and C are pretty much on, right, from what
well, I've been telling our staff that administratively, our recommendation is not next year, but the following year, we have to close Lee. Within another 2 to 3 to 5 years. And again, it really, once you get out past 2 years, it's hard because I don't even know what the next biennial budget is for next year. You know, getting 2 biennial budgets out, I can't, you know, and then with the way inflation has been going, I don't know. But within 2 years of that, we'll most likely close Lincoln and ESC. All of those are driven a little bit by funding dollars. But what it's more driven by is the amount of students we're losing. It just doesn't pay to keep a facility open if you don't need that physical space.
So how do you maintain the leap is like 80 to 1.
It's one of the best report cards we get.
Yeah, it is. But so how do you maintain that 82 if you're moving on to all the other schools? How do you maintain that?
So we're working on that. Again, the reason we're doing a long-range facilities plan is to help us find better answers for that. But my preference is to try to keep them together as a school unit, just put them somewhere else. And if we can find enough space to do that and have it still feel like a small school environment, still do the education that we're doing the same way, right? That's my best preference. Least amount of preference is break the whole thing up, send 5 here to that school, 5 here to that school, and take each of the teachers, because they're a community of learners right now. And if I can keep that, I will. I'm going to try really hard to do that. What's that?
You hear a lot about the ICE process too, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of focus right now. Being able to program, learning.
Exactly. Yeah.
Keep your children healthy, keep them in a good environment, and we kids that.
Yeah.
That's important.
What I
want to make sure when you consolidate those somewhere else that those skills are available.
Yeah. You're keying into one of my major messages around the referendum, which is I'm really proud of the programming we have. And I'll get into this in a little bit. Some of the stuff that we do with our students and the programming that we have is amazing. And if we don't pass a referendum, some of that programming is going to go away. I can't afford to continue to do that. But as long as we can afford to, even if we're shrinking, I want to make sure that we continue to offer as much of that programming as we can. Right? And I love that programming out there. The ag and environmental program they're doing is amazing. Yeah.
Report card that seems to get a little confused. Report cards are also based on standardized tests. And depending on the amount of special needs students in your school, everybody has to take the standardized test. So some schools might have more special needs, like my son is on the autism spectrum. He had to take those tests, and they were read to him, which ultimately brought that school's score field. So just take the scorecard with a little bit of grain of salt, that know that you might not be comparing apples to apples. You know, it's a great program, and I'd like to listen to kids who want to like Harvard.
Well, and I'll add to that the legislature and the State Department of Education are changing what the makeup of the report cards too. Which is why when you said, well, they got the best scores, I'm like, yeah, they got one of the best scores. But that's because depending on what factors you're using and what report card you look at, right? I can say this, a lot of our schools are doing really, really well. All of our schools are doing really well. I'm proud to lead the school district. And I can talk a little bit about what that means on the individuals a little bit here. Yeah, questions around that? No?
If the referendum passes and we, of course, absorb into less buildings with our field values, the plan right now, though, is to still allow those specialized grade school programs to filter in the middle school.
Yeah, that's what I was explaining. That's what we're going to try to do.
Okay.
Right? I mean, like, we're really trying hard to make sure that we keep that identity together as we move forward.
Okay.
Right?
Because I know like Riverside used to like the green homes and stuff, but would you anticipate moving like the hen homes and all of that to Riverside Middle School, the referendum passes and all that, yeah?
So, be careful, because I'm about to say something and I don't want people to latch on to it.
Okay,
right?
okay, fair.
One of the things we are looking at, and you have seen some of these models, and if you went to one of our previous presentations, it talked about moving the middle school up to the high school. Okay? If we move the middle school up to the high school, I can fit all of the LEAP students in programming, all of the Lincoln students in programming, and all of the Webster students in programming into the middle school building. That's how big it is.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was
So,
asking.
you know, I'm not saying that that's 100% the path we're going down, but it's one we're studying.
Okay.
And I also don't know how long it will take us to get into there. We lost 106 students this last year, from last year to this year. If we stay on that same trajectory, right? Think of how many, I mean, there's only 60 students that go up to me approximately. We lost 106. See what I'm talking about? We just physically don't need spaces. But it doesn't mean that I want to change programming, right? Because we have an award-winning program. The STEM program over at Lincoln won a STEMI award this year. We're one of the highest performing STEM schools in the state of Wisconsin, right? That's over here. And so it's going to be hard to continue to make sure that we do this well, and any changes that we make, we do it as thoughtfully as possible. Remember, I talked about our innovative, schools and having a good resource allocation schedule. Those are all the things that we think about. That I certainly think about every day when I come in to do my job. How are we going to navigate the change that this community needs to do? Because we do need to figure out that. Yeah. I'll stay here all night if you need me to. I know the library closes at 8.
I know that Avery struggled with this, so I think for me, one of the questions, and I think this year's being mentioned, has the city shared with you, many of us in social media, other sites have seen some of the anticipated apartments and buildings and housing, that are over by the Y, things like that. Have they shared with you not only projections for that and factoring that into the enrollment, and also have there been conversations about pursuing additional businesses to Watertown, Jefferson County, things like that. Have there been any conversations about what that looks like? Bundling housing, running in jobs.
Yeah, I would say we are all hopeful for that future of what that looks like. Some of that has not materialized as quickly as some of us were hoping and thinking that it would. I will tell you that the study that we did, the population study for MU offers, And if you'd like to peruse through that, just stop by my office and give me a copy of it. It does have some hopeful value of increased population after year 10, right? But again, you get that far out, it's hard to even judge, because will those developments take effect? Will businesses actually come, right? And I can only tell you as far as I know right now. Right now, I've been here for 2.5 years. I've been struggling to sell a lot of land, failed twice as it's gone through the city levels, and it's still not developed. Okay, I'm not saying it was a good development or a bad development or whatever. That's up to the city to decide that, right? I am just saying that people are looking to sell and do things, and there are people who come to our city. They talk about development, but they don't sign the deal. Right? So I have to plan for what I know. And what I know right now is we're declining. I've got real numbers that show we went down 106 students this year, 80 some last year. And if we stay on that trajectory, we're going to be over there. No. And we are doing what we can to react to that. We're cutting our budget. We're doing things that we can do. But the larger situation is, it's really an underfunding issue from the state, which is why you're seeing hundreds of school districts go for rough funding. Right? It wouldn't be 100 school districts if it was just mismanagement or wanting more. It's not that. It's the state funding situation that's not enough. Any other questions about rough funding? Yeah, I'm going to talk quickly about some partnerships, just highlighting them. We've got a wonderful partnership with the Marquardt where we have our Surge students. These students are adult students with disabilities who are getting on-the-job training at Marquardt Village, and pair with them. It's a wonderful option for our students. Here is the other end of that program. This is the start into our school. This is our early learning, I used to call it early learning play days. But this is our child outreach that happens around our 3K, 4K, and 5K students. This is a bus that drives out to one of our agricultural partners. This is Rosie Lane Farms. They do amazing stuff with some of our students. We've had elementary, middle, and high school students go out there. We've even sent staff out there through our Watertown Leadership Program, through the Chamber of Commerce, just to learn about some of our businesses, and Rosie Lane is a great partner in that. Here we have people from MATC over at our middle school doing a health deal with our students. Up here, you may recognize some of these people, or not, but we have Bonnie from the Chamber. This gentleman is John Streeter. He is a business owner and lives out right next to Lee. He's a great school supporter. Talks a lot about what we can do and how we can improve schools. This is Senator Jagger, who I'm talking with, and his aide, who comes along with him to a number of our functions. And we've got a number of business people in the background, some from CEO from Fisher Barton, J&L Tire, all sorts of other people. We were going through our tech ed spaces and talking about our college, our high school to career ladder, and talking about those spaces and what we can look at. This gentleman here who's talking to Josh Kerr is this gentleman here. He's our high school principal. This is Barton Benson. You might know him from Benson Town Square. He also put $475,000 in the last year into our middle school STEM program. Very, very lovely man, a wonderful philanthropist. We are partnering with people in our community to talk about the future of our programming and what kind of facilities we might need. They are interested in helping out, but they need to know that that's helping out and not doing the work themselves, right? And so I want you to know that we do that. You can see this is me here, and this is Jesse Domer and a couple of people from our counseling team at the middle school. We were at Bobcat learning about the jobs that they have right here in our area that students can leave our high school and get to hire them. And we have a couple of apprentices that work at Bobcat now because we sat and learned about what they were doing. I'm saying, hey, we've got students for that right now. You can hire them right now. They can come learn and we can work that out. So it's a wonderful opportunity. Bobcat has always been a very big supporter of our tech ed program, but also just program in general. I will tell you, they let me drive this machine, and I almost broke it. And I feel bad that I represented our school in that way, but I cannot look at that without telling you a small story. So right down here has got some pedal action, and my shoestring got caught, and it made me go forward on the handlebars, which made you go forward, and I couldn't get back. And I was going in circles and everything else until I could finally hit the switch on the thing. And it was like riding, it was like 8 seconds on the rodeo. I probably would have won if it was a bull. But I will tell you that it was the highlight of the day. Everybody laughed, we had a good time, and it really helped me talk to them about what they do. And that's an amazing tool that they built for not only people in this community, but all over the world. Here, this is the Lions Club donating a check to us. Do you know that we have thousands and thousands of dollars that come into donations every year? I'm not talking tens of thousands. You heard of some money over here just from Jim John. We have over $600,000 go in scholarships for people in our community to our students, our seniors this next year. Okay? I know that people support our schools, and I know that because they do it on the daily. So if you're asking, how do you know? I know. I mean, it's just, does everybody know, right? And does everybody hear that same level? Some things I want you to know that we're proud of, right? We invest communities for music for 25 plus years, especially in one category where it's music support. Music support, 12 years running. That means our parents, our community music program boosters, other people, right, have showed up to a high level and have been nationally awarded for 12 years running the support to our 25-year experience, 99 to 2024, where we've had a community of best music education. So we've had this for 25 years, and on top of this, we have the existing co-one that says the people in there support how good you are, right? That's 12 years. Again, we talked about the STEMI Award at Lincoln. Our Skills WUSD team continues to knock it out of the park. This group, or part of this group, took on a solar car challenge. First time ever as a school district. It got canceled about 3.5 days into the event because the judges got COVID and had to send everybody home. But I will tell you, after 3.5 days in the event, they came home with a trophy. First time. There are school districts who go to that, and for 10 years have not won a thing. Shows you how good our kids are. And the leadership that helps them with that, with all the people who help that program, not only Jesse Diller, but we've got a large number of people who help that program out on Wednesday nights. All the Skills USA programs. We talk about 100% every day. These are Webster students, right, wearing their 100% everyday shirts. That was also part of a Get Kids to School campaign. We're trying to make sure that we have 100% attendance, or as close to that as we can. You can see that in every one of our buildings over the last couple of years. This does a lot. When you have people like Gloria McDonald and our nutrition services who've worked here for 40 plus years, you know you're a good organization. You can keep employees for 40 years. I don't care if it's 1 or 10 or 15. Right? Just the fact that somebody says, I can stay here and I know this is a good organization and she'll tell you that, that's a testament to what we do. I want to talk a little bit about graduation. I like ending on this, and if I get emotional, I'm sorry, but I'm proud of being a proud person who leads this organization. This last year, we had more than 290 seniors across our stage, 3 valedictorians in that group. That was Lucy Hickey, Jacob Johnson, and Abe Roberts. Many of our seniors are recognized for their academic achievements, but I want to tell you this. 23 were summa cum laude students, 14 magna cum laude students out of 290, 22 seniors graduated cum laude, 28 seniors graduated with honors of distinction, that's a 3.8 to 4.0, 47 had a 3.5 or higher, to the 3.7, 35 seniors graduated with honors at 3.2 to 3.4. 35 seniors are members of the National Honor Society, 16 seniors, Tri-M Honor Society, 17 seniors are members of the Spanish Honor Society, 4 seniors German Honor Society, 14 National Arts Honor Society, 18 Project Leadway Biomedical Engineer Honor students who also earned a biomedical engineering certificate along the way. 10 seniors earned academic decathlon honors, 5 seniors earned global seal of literacy, 17 were avid or advanced via individual determination students. It takes a lot to do that. Those avid students are your generally average students who kicked tail and got into a four-year university, right? We have excellent students across the board. We have an excellent program across the board, and we can't do it without the staff that we have. Right? And that's how I end my first briefing this time around. But I want you to know I end it with a lot of honor for serving you as a community, and to be able to help guide us into the future. And I know the future has some issues with it, but we're a school district on the move. And that's better than being stagnant. Right? And I like that, even though it means tough decisions as we move ahead. So I'll leave it at that. Any questions or comments? Either you can stay, I'll be around for a little bit more, or we can schedule a time and you can do it maybe at home coffee or in my office or whatever else it is you want to do. But thank you for coming tonight.